Breaking news out of the England camp as Manchester City agreed to a deal to sign midfielder Elliot Anderson from Nottingham Forest for $153 million, a transfer fee which would be the highest for a British player, as suggested by multiple reports. The 23-year-old has been given permission to undergo medicals in New York ahead of Friday's Three Lions final group stage match against Panama. Anderson joined Forest in 2023 for $46 million in a transfer making just under 100 appearances for the club, but being a massive part of it, which we know and which you can understand. What about the price tag associated with him? Is that something you can wrap your head around, Mike, him being the highest ever British transfer?
Yeah, I'm shocked at the number. I think he's a damn good player, but I think there's some context with it. There's a bit of a British luxury tax going on in the Premier League. Sometimes English players, we've seen it before, where they go for a damn good penny. But man, to be in that company, Jack Grealish aside, I think this reminds me more of the Jack Grealish transfer solely because you know this club better than any of us, Pop. He was such a pivotal piece of what Nottingham Forest were. Such a big reason why they staved off relegation. And much like a Jack Grealish at Aston Villa, the price tag only goes up when the desire is there. And you think of some of his performance he had this season. I mean, he was one of the top midfielders that we didn't talk about enough in the Premier League. I'd put him in my most underrated midfielder in the Premier League for some of his cameos. You think back to the match he had against City, where your Nottingham Forest got a massive result that impacted the Premier League title. I also think about his cameo at Old Trafford, where for decent parts of that match, he bossed the midfield. So he's been used to doing it on his own at Nottingham Forest in the middle of the park at different times. But for me, I think that's a bit too much for Elliot Anderson.
I love Declan Rice and I love Elliot Anderson. I think they're both fantastic players. When you put their price tags together, you're talking about 300 million ballpark. 300 million. When I watched the first two games England played, I didn't see a midfield that was worth 300 million. Not because to take anything away from them. I don't think any players are worth that money unless you start to talk about Mbappe, unless you start to talk about some of these other players. So I don't know. Seems like a lot, but I'm probably not the right guy to ask. I bought 4 coffees yesterday morning. It was $24. Bought 4 coffees for the boys.
It's actually not bad, 24 for 4. That's how little it goes out.
I said, I'll treat. They didn't want breakfast, so I'll treat, no problem. I just have 4 coffees, medium, $24. So I'm not the one to say, but 153 million seems a little excessive.
It does seem, though, unfortunately, this is the day and age we're living in, isn't it? Isn't this just market value to think of all of the other players that we're seeing go for such records around the world? Maybe, yes, there's a British tax, and in England to be compared to the last one being Jack Grealish, which at the time was such a big, big headline. It didn't maybe pan out the way they wanted. How do you think, though, he's going to fit into Maresca's plans? Because this is a big step for Enzo Maresca to take over after Pep Guardiola and say, this is the guy that I want to have in my midfield. Yeah,
and it puts a lot of pressure on Elliot Anderson. We've seen Jack Grealish at times crumble with that in his first season at Manchester City. But there's this feeling with Elliot Anderson that he actually wants the pressure. He invites the pressure. He's someone who I think thrives under pressure. We saw it at different points. Remember, there was a match in the Europa League against Aston Villa where Aston Villa, you know, the current Europa League champions and will be playing in the Champions League, but they tried to bully Nottingham Forest. They're getting physical, trying to knock him about, and he comes in and immediately, maybe he should have gotten a red card. For me, I don't think that was a red card. But he's not afraid to get dirty, get a bit nasty. He's got a bit of personality about him. But this is Manchester City. This is a whole lot of different pressure. And for Enzo Maresca, you think of who he's going to be playing next to. Rodri, when fit. Ryan Cherki, when you get back in. So there's some world-class players in there. And I think that Elliot Anderson, he will become a world-class talent. He has a lot of work to do to get up to that level, but this is a good start.
I think
hold on, a lot of work to get up to that level to become a world-class player. So 153 million, he's not a world-class player.
But isn't he an unsung hero? Because I think one of the big things as well at Forest is, yes, you notice the work that he does, but it's more the absence that you notice when he's not available. And for the very few games that he did miss this season, it was a huge loss, especially for a team that was fighting relegation. This is a completely new battle, though, with a team that's expected to win the Premier League, and especially after Arsenal won it last season, maybe there's more pressure on this new look and new era for Manchester City.
153 million is a lot of pressure on a player, on anyone. He's a human being at the end of the day. You've got to be perfect Like, you got to be perfect, and every week in and week out, and you've got to be fit every single week, and you've got to be mentally in the right spot every week. Your technique's got to be perfect. You miscontrol a ball at under 53 million, everyone's gonna be like, whoa, what's that? What's he doing? That's a lot of pressure. It's big pressure. I think he's a good player. I really think he's fantastic. Him and Declan Rice, I'm a big fan of them. But at some point, man, wow, that's. You tell me there's not a player out there worth 120 million that maybe is very close in talent and level? Maybe 90 million. I mean, these are huge numbers.
So yes or no, is he worth being the highest?
Nobody's
British
worth 153 million unless their name's Mbappe.
Of all time, the British transfer, though.
Unless when he plays, fire comes out of his cleats, out of his boots.
I think City are paying well over the asking price, but they're doing it for a reason. The big reason being you need to replace Bernardo Silva.
Right.
And when you look at someone who's Premier League proven, and that's a big thing. If you go outside the Premier League and you get someone who maybe played in the Bundesliga, maybe played in Liga, maybe played in La Liga, it's not a sure thing that he's going to come in and be Premier League ready to deal with some of the pressure, to deal with the physicality. So I think that has a lot to do with it, but the demand is there. They need to get someone to fill in right away to replace Bernardo Silva.
Okay, 153 million. Look at it this way from a business sense. Right? These are business transactions. 153 million. Let's say he goes in, has the awesome season, plays really well, they win the Premier League. What's he worth then? 200 million?
Well, the value just is going up and up and up, isn't it?
It seems like there's a bigger downside than there's an upside. Because
but do Manchester City care about that? Do they care about the resale value,
business,
or do they care
right?
about this season?
It's a business. So like when you buy something, you're like, is there upside? Is there downside?
But isn't
that price tag? There's not a really margin for error.
Isn't the business for Manchester City, though, different to some of the other teams where they're not a team that's looking to make money, they're looking for trophies?
They also don't follow the rules. So that's another conversation for another day. But yeah, okay, they've been known to spend a lot of money to get what they want. I just, again, 153 million to me sounds like a lot of money.
You know, the thing I don't like about it all is why is he doing his medicals now in New York? When is this taking place around the England camp? Is he distracted? Is he focused on when this deal's going to get done? It just, as an England fan, and aside from being a Forest fan that doesn't want to see one of your star players go, I think it is a bit concerning, isn't it, that this is all happening in the middle of a World Cup?
Yeah, it is for sure. By the market values, though, of the English team, they should win the World Cup.
Yeah, well, didn't think about that, yeah.
But if you go each English
Declan
player,
Rice,
go each
Harry
English
Kane.
player because
Jude Bellingham.
The market says they're worth three players. They're midfield: Bellingham, Rice, and Elliot. So what is it?
And Harry Kane.
350 million.
Yeah.
So we don't need to play the World Cup. They already won.
You could say it about Spain, though. Or you could also say it about France with
I'm not
Kylian
sure.
Mbappe. Because he is the highest transfer, isn't he? So, OK.
But France are good.
Oh, jeez.
France are the favourites. France are the
He does this to me at 7 o'clock at night when I've got no more energy for him.
No, Pop, just very quickly, I'm curious, from the Nottingham Forest side, what does this mean for you guys as well? Because when one player leaves, that's a cornerstone for success, you have to fill it in. You're going to get $150 million plus. I think that may be 120 million pounds. What do you do with that?
Right.
That's incredible.
And who can you replace him with? Some players you can't put a value on in a massive hole that's going to be left in the midfield. Although we did see it, didn't we, with Morgan Gibbs-White? That was almost a done deal, and the Forest team would have looked very different had he left. His life would have also looked very different had he gone to Tottenham. It would have been an even more nervy season than what Forest had. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Forest is also a team, though, that likes to spend money, so I'm sure they'll use it nicely. So that is the latest then. Elliot Anderson off to Manchester City for the start of the new Premier League season.